Somebody, it seems really interesting, just stay on an extra moment, because that's a little bit of information that you're getting, that they're with you, and then move on. Okay, here we go. I'll shut up.
We prefer to think of ourselves as being terribly significant. I remember being in New York one afternoon when a piece of scaffolding fell and bisected the head of a man a half a block ahead of me. I came just in time to see the carnage, the hysteria, and I began to think about the man who had died. It was an actor in his 30s, I would read a few days later. The center of his own universe, before his universe was suddenly snatched away from him. And all the rest of us on that New York afternoon were the backdrop to the particular drama that was his life. And we all live in that illusion, don't we? And we all parade the streets daily back and forth, oblivious to the fact that the next piece of scaffolding may be meant for us, and fully convinced that deep down in the truest parts of life, we are nobody's backdrop. I was in my hotel room watching the gratuitous slaughter in the Middle East when the phone rang. Hello?
Maggie?
Yes.
Maggie Mulroney.
Yes, who's this?
Brace yourself for a blast from the past. This is Jim Burroughs.
Jim? Oh my God, where are you?
I'm right here, in Boston.
You're still living here?
Sure am. Well, Norville, actually.
How did you know I was in town? How'd you get my number?
I read it in the paper. Maggie Mulroney will be signing copies of her new book at the Harvard Bookstore Cafe. You're famous, Maggie girl.
I'm not.
Well, you're as close to famous as anybody I've ever known.
I can't believe we're talking. I feel like we're still in high school. I mean...
Give or take 20 years.
Oh, God, no.
20 years.
Oh, that's impossible. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Just fine. Yourself?
I'm fine, too. I'm sorry, I'm just overwhelmed. I don't know what to say.
Me neither. 20 years is a lot to catch up on. Would you like to get together and try this in person?
I'd love to. Psychologically, this is the point in the conversation where you establish the boundaries between a man and a woman. Naturally, we both knew this instinctively.
We can have dinner. Maybe you can come over to the house. I'd love you to meet my wife.
That sounds great. Do you have kids too?
No, we wanted to, but look, we can talk about everything over dinner. How about tomorrow night?
That sounds great.
I'll pick you up at 5.
All right. And just like that, 20 years of not talking to and not knowing anything about someone who used to be a really big part of the reason why you got up in the morning, and now all of a sudden you're gonna go have dinner with his wife. Ain't life strange? He picks me up alone.
Maggie?
Jim? Jim!
You didn't recognize me.
No, I do. It was a sign. It was in my eyes. I didn't recognize him. He looked completely different. I tried to find the boy that I knew, but I couldn't. It was a little scary. On the ride to his house, I felt uneasy. Maybe this was a mistake. What could we possibly still have in common?
You look great, Maggie.
Thanks. You do too.
Success agrees with you?
Oh, well, should have met me 2 years ago. You would have been like, oh, poor Maggie, her life's not working out the way she wants it to.
Really? Sure looks like it's working out now. I'm taking us through Newbridge just for old time's sake.
Oh, has it changed much?
You'll be amazed
At the changes?
at how much is exactly the same. Do you remember this road?
Not really, at least. Oh. Oh, yeah, it's still there?
Still there, our little detour.
We used to pull over in his van and make love. We had a little spot, a little dirt road around the side. It's coming up. It's right there.
There.
God, it's still there.
It's still there. Do you remember how we used to lie in the van and watch the stars come out?
Yeah, and then you drive me home at about 80 miles an hour on the Marsh Street. We took our lives in our own hands. We felt we were impervious.
Completely invulnerable.
We were lucky we weren't killed.
The thought didn't even cross my mind at the time.
Me either. So, what do you do? Are you still doing music?
No, I'm teaching at the high school.
Really? Music?
No, English. One of life's little ironies, wouldn't you say? Me, the one who couldn't wait to get out of town, teaching English to the next generation of fuck-ups. Somebody up there really has a twisted sense of humor.
No, but teaching's great. Not everyone can teach, and I bet you're great at it.
I am great at it. I even like it. That doesn't mean it's what I want to do for the rest of my life.
What do you want to do?
Hell, what don't I want to do? I want to swim the Ganges. I want to be a film director. I want to cure cancer.
Noble aspirations.
I want to be 17 and start all over again.
Really?
No, I'm kidding about that.
But he had tears in his eyes. It was funny. This happened a number of times on the drive, but since the rest of them seemed so completely collected, I assumed he had developed some kind of eye condition. Men are an odd breed. Their emotions sneak out in the strangest of ways.
What do you want?
Right now, I want to write a really, really good book, and I want the muse to be sitting on my shoulder the entire time.
The whole time?
Not even a coffee break.
What about marriage, children, that whole thing? Don't you want any of that?
Well, how do you know I'm not married?
I read an interview in the Patriot Ledger.
Well, it's not a really big priority of mine. I mean, I give it thought from time to time. It's just not very high on my list. It's not. I mean, I get so annoyed when people are like, your life is a total failure if you're not married. I sometimes feel like I could win the Nobel Peace Prize, and people would still think I was a failure if I wasn't married. I mean, big deal.
Absolutely.
It's not like the end of the world.
Hey, it was just a question.
Right, sorry. It's just a question I get asked a lot, you know? Okay, so I got a little defensive. 20 years, and they still knew how to push my buttons.
I've been writing some myself. Music, I mean.
Really? I'd love to hear it sometime.
It's not for general consumption. I mean, I'd never expect to market it or anything.
So what? I remember how good you were.
Yeah? You know, I do think some of it's pretty good. I really do.
And there he was. The boy I knew. He was still there. I just hadn't noticed.
So far, the only person who's heard any of it is Maggie, and of course, what's she gonna say? She loves me.
Maggie?
Yeah, didn't I mention that? My wife's name is Maggie, too.
Really?
Yeah, well, yeah, except she spells hers with a Y. While telling the two big loves of my life with the same name.
I hadn't known that. About being one of the two big loves.
You're gonna love her. In some ways, you're very much alike.
You know, I get kind of scared when people tell me I'm gonna like someone because they're like me. I generally can't stand someone who reminds me of me.
I'm talking sense of humor, that kind of thing. In other ways, you're very different. Do you remember Maggie McClintock?
No.
You probably will when you see her. She was a cheerleader.
Jim, how could somebody who was a cheerleader in high school be anything like me?
Basically, she just did it to spite everybody.
Well, that sounds like me.
Yeah, as an extended joke. She was a year behind us. I didn't know her then. I met her years later at a 4th of July parade. We started making rude comments together about the floats and realized we had causticity in common. It's a wonderful bond being caustic together, don't you find?
I guess. My mind was running wild. I was imagining some cross between Christy Brinkley and Dorothy Parker.
Well, here we are.
Oh, what a beautiful old home you have. How long have you lived here?
6 years. by the way, there's one more thing you should know about Maggie. She has cancer.
Take that last moment. Take that last moment one more time.
Okay.
And just
From
get the hell
where?
out. Once you drop the bombshell, just leave her isolated, right? And
Okay, bye.
Okay.
head on up to the porch, which is over here somewhere.
Okay.
Over there.
So, by the way, there's one more thing you should know about Maggie. She has cancer. Hey, Maggie.